Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the January 13th meeting of council at this time. Are there any declarations of interest from members of council? Councillor Johns, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. It's actually just under the recommendations from the meeting that we had on December 16th. I previously declared the on item F1 regarding the built heritage study. A company that I own owns a heritage property within East Gwillimbury, so I'll be stepping back from those recommendations.
Thank you very much. Are there any other items? We are at item C for land acknowledgement statement. The town of East Gwillimbury recognizes and acknowledges the lands originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaty First Nations and other Indigenous peoples, and on behalf of council, I thank them for this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as East Gwillimbury's closest First Nation community and recognize the unique relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and the waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and we join them in these responsibilities. We are at item D of our presentations today. Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, Madam Mayor. If I'd like to interject, if I may. I think it's appropriate that we briefly discuss our approach to and the interpretation of our procedural bylaw, specifically as it relates to how we handle deputations, and that's why I'm bringing it up in this section. As you know, I have a very deep reverence for this chamber. This is where we conduct the people's business. It's where we advance the issues of the town and work to improve the quality of life of the residents in East Gwillimbury. Lately, however, I have been increasingly concerned about how some of our bylaws are being interpreted. And until fairly recently, residents wishing to speak before this body would submit a single request for deputation, provide details of the topic they intended to address, and we'd hear from them. We are now seeing multiple requests from the same individuals to speak separately on different topics. And while I acknowledge the ingenuity in identifying this loophole in our bylaws, the reality is it's now being weaponized against this council. These are council meetings, not public forums. They are our meetings, and we have a responsibility to manage them effectively. Over the Christmas holidays, I heard loud and clear from residents who feel that our meetings appear to be out of control. Many expressed concern that this is not a good use of taxpayers' dollars. Residents also raised concerns about the tone of some of the deputations, specifically that they have become overly adversarial and at times focused on the personal rather than the issues at hand. And if we continue to do the same things,
point of order.
I have the floor. If we continue to do the same thing over and over and expect different results, well, we all know that expression. Simply put, council has both the authority and the obligation to regulate its proceedings to ensure that meetings are conducted in an orderly, efficient, and respectful manner. To that end, in accordance with Section 15.1A of our procedural bylaw, which allows a member to move a motion relating to a matter on the agenda, I'm bringing forward a motion to establish clearer procedural guidelines around deputations. I have provided a motion to the clerk, and I would ask her to put it up on the screen so we can read it, and happy to discuss it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. I know that there are others at this time.
Madam Mayor, if this is regarding the procedural bylaw,
Yes.
and speaking about the integrity of the procedural bylaw, shouldn't we be dealing with this under other business?
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I take great umbrance to the fact that if an individual councillor has now hijacked with his own personal comments and prepared statements and there was no item on the agenda ahead of time to put forward a notice of motion or to have a debate under other business. And so it is entirely inappropriate, in my opinion, that one councillor has chosen to pontificate on the council members' time without prior notification in an appropriate manner procedurally on our agenda. So I would like to ask respectfully that our Madam Clerk speaks to this point, if this is acceptable, that the councillor has chosen to present his opinions in this manner.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, although I cannot speak to whether or not this item is acceptable because that resides with the authority of council, from a procedural standpoint, Councillor Crone, you had indicated that you're introducing this motion pursuant to section 15.1 of the procedure bylaw, which reads as follows: no member shall introduce any item to the council for its consideration unless, and you've referenced subsection A, the item relates to a matter on the agenda for that meeting. You're speaking to the deputation section of the agenda, and the motion that I have been provided right now is addressing the deputation section of the agenda. So the authority resides with council on when and how they would like to entertain this item, as your procedural bylaw does allow under section 15.1A for the member to introduce it. So again, Madam Mayor, you as the chair would have to basically decide if you would like to entertain this.
Thank you very much for the discussion. I find it troublesome that we are starting an afternoon of some deliberation, and there is somewhat of ambiguity to look at the deputations. My concern is that as a member of council, and everyone that is sitting here today has great knowledge about the municipality and how we conduct ourselves, and I'm looking to see if there's a way that, in fact, both requests can be dealt with. Go ahead, please.
So for clarification, are we going to put forward a motion to, what my question is, this is quite disturbing, actually. And in terms of respecting the process and in terms of deputations, I think it's quite interesting that there has been a lengthy motion put forward here that was obviously prepared in advance. And so my question is, why didn't you do the courtesy, give the courtesy to your fellow council members and mayor and staff to put this in the agenda ahead of time and put the notice of motion of this motion that you would like us to consider? Why didn't you submit it as we are all instructed we do? We submit notices of motion ahead of time to our clerk out of respect to all members of council so that we can prepare in advance for whatever topic that is being put forward and vote on it accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
Thank you. This motion is about deputations. It is the subject matter on our agenda. The clerk has stated that it's appropriate. I think before we discuss any more, it needs to be moved and seconded so that we're speaking to the motion. Thank you.
Well, point of order again, Madam Mayor. Before this presentation that was prepared in advance by my fellow councillor was read in full, I think that they would have been more appropriate, rather than reading it in full, to ask if there was an opportunity to put forward a notice of motion rather than just springing it on us. You know, my fellow councillor talks about finding loopholes, and how about pulling surprises on your fellow council members, and if that is appropriate and respectful. And if you'd like to talk about deputations in the context of the respectful workplace, public space policy that was issued on Friday, December the 19th, this seems to be you're addressing concerns that you have.
We're talking about something completely different
No, we're
now.
not talking about something. You were talking about respectful.
I'm sorry, Councillor, I am not
public
talking about
spaces.
respectful workplaces.
That's
That
what
has
you are
nothing to
talking
do with
about
what
in
I'm
terms
talking
of
about.
deputations.
You're
that are
taking this
being
in a
made.
different direction.
No, I am not. You are diverting and deflecting attention from what the
Councillor
principal
LaHaye,
issue
we have
is
heard
here.
you.
Thank you.
We need a seconder.
Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am more than willing to, I can't read the whole thing here, but I am more than willing to entertain this. It relates to matters on our agenda. It relates to the fact that there are on our prepared agenda 5 deputations, 3 of which were from the same individual. And given the way that our previous meetings went, and you were not here, Madam Mayor, but the way that they were chaired, I believe that our procedural bylaw was not adhered to. There were personal attacks. Speakers were allowed to speak for longer than 5 minutes. I think it's worth, given that it's the first meeting of a new year, for us to at least look at what Councillor Crone has proposed in order to ensure that our meetings are conducted in a fair and, I'm sorry, Councillor, you're being very distracting. I'm trying to speak and you're making a lot of gestures and noise, and I'm finding it distracting. I'm very sorry.
Please continue.
So we have an obligation to the residents and to our public to conduct our meetings efficiently. And if this is a way of ensuring that our meetings are more efficient, then I would like to explore it further, and I would like to, perhaps Councillor Crone can read out what he has prepared, or is this the entire thing here? Madam Clerk,
again,
is that all there?
Prior to, through you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, I don't believe you have acknowledged
No,
that
I
speaker,
have
so-
not. You have the floor at this time.
Thank you. I was just asking you through you, Madam Mayor, to the clerk if this is the entire, because I was trying to read it when it was on screen. Is this the entire text?
Through you, Madam Mayor, what I have received is that, and the deputy clerk has been assisting me with scrolling down a little bit. Given the length of the content, it's not appearing completely on the screen, so
Okay.
we can start at the beginning, and you can guide us in terms of when to go further down.
So I guess at this point, in order for us to discuss it, then it needs a seconder just in order for it to be on the table. This is not voting. This is just allowing for a seconder. I would be willing to to second this motion in order for us to be able to discuss it procedurally. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johns?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Again, if we're talking about procedure and procedurally, when Councillor Carruthers said to move and second it, to table it, prior to that, Councillor Leahy called a point of order. So personally, for me, once the point of order is ruled upon, and if that fails, at which point the discussion would move in second and there would be a discussion around it, I will be voting no. I've always implemented notice of motion. Councillor Crone began by stating he spent time over the holidays, which means there was ample time to submit this for everybody, and then I will be stepping back from the conversation, and then when the vote's called, if we are going to discuss it, I will be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, if I may, for
No,
clarification, I did
Madam
not.
Mayor,
I did
would like
not
to
say I spent time over the holidays. I spent time over the holidays hearing from residents about their concern about how our meetings have been going. I'm trying to show some leadership and clear this up.
Thank you. Councillor, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Mayor. I would like to request that we have a recess so that we are given the opportunity, which would have been respectful to the fellow councillors. This was not whipped up over 5 minutes. This was prepared in advance, and there was an opportunity for my fellow councillor, if he wanted to show leadership, to present it to and submit it to the clerk to be on our agenda so that we could have a fair amount of time to read it, reflect on it, and be prepared to discuss it this morning. And by surprising everyone with us on this, although it does technically, you found a loophole, it is technically being allowed here to be discussed, I believe that there should be a deferral of this. So at least a minimum of a 15-minute recess so that we can read through this to prepare ourselves for the debate, or we defer it until the next meeting, which I would be very happy to do. So I look forward to the mayor ruling on my point of order about the appropriateness of this, and I'm very disappointed that this is not part of a larger conversation coming out of on Friday, December 19th, when a respectful public space policy was sent to everyone and was sent out by email to those who subscribe to our town email list, that if we wanted to discuss respectful, and another fellow councillor has referred to things that took place that evening and making criticisms of them without it even being a topic of a discussion appropriately. And the mayor was not at that meeting. I was chairing that meeting, and I'm always very privileged to chair in your absence, Madam Mayor. So I'm respectfully asking that we either have a 15-minute break so that we can have an appropriate amount of time to read, absorb, and reflect upon this, because my fellow councillor chose not to give us any advanced opportunity to discuss it, or we defer it until the next meeting in January, which I think would be the most appropriate meeting to discuss it at, when we all have the opportunity to reflect upon the content of it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I have two other speakers at this time, Councillor Carruthers and Councillor Foster. I'll take them in that order.
No, I already spoke.
Okay. Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to kind of weigh in on this a little bit. I don't think that I don't think anyone else at the dais takes lightly what this means. We don't mean to take away the ability for our residents to speak. That's not what this is all about. This is when meetings become a little uncontrollable, and we have had a number of meetings in the past while that have led to this type of a resolution. I think we need to all understand that I believe some of the deputations that we have heard in the past while have probably had other meanings, and when our rules and regulations get kind of stretched, and someone said about finding a loophole, I think it's to gain some personal, push some personal issues for some personal gain maybe later on. So I'm not sure how we need to move ahead with this, but as it's written, I certainly see the need for it. Again, I think I'll leave it at that. How we move this forward is to be decided.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Go ahead, please.
Madam Mayor, I want to be very clear. I am not the first person to make a motion at this table on an issue that we're talking about. This is something that happens all the time. In fact, the very councillor who was criticizing me for raising this motion tried to put a motion on here on December 16th that would have committed us to a forensic audit and a judicial review without a shred of evidence. But that was okay to make a motion then, but I somehow am the villain here, because I'm trying to clear up how we handle our meetings, and we stop the, I'm just going to stop there. I'm not going to say any more, but I think, I'm quite happy to entertain, if people need 15 minutes to go over this, I think I'm more than happy to entertain that. If it's defeated, fine, but I'm trying to do something to bring control back to our meetings, because we're becoming a joke. We're the only council that I'm aware of in the GTA that allows multiple deputations from the same person. It's not right. It's not how we've done it historically. And these are our meetings. We have an obligation to run them. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Crothers first.
Thank you. I think we need to take a look at what's in the motion, because I don't think it's quite as nefarious as some are seeming to imply. It's talking about just providing clarity around the deputations, what's already in our procedural bylaw. It's about openness and transparency so that people understand that deputations, if you look at the whereas clauses, we're saying that deputations aren't the only way to address council. And we have 2 deputations coming today where they've taken the time to attend information sessions and provide their feedback and put it in writing for us, and have one-on-one conversations with staff, with counselors, and now they're coming as a final step with a deputation, and that's what we like to see. We know, we're very clear what their issues are. We're very clear we were able to ask some questions earlier today from what they've already submitted in writing, and so we're providing clarity on what the expectation is from council. It's clear in our procedural bylaw that we ask for an outline, and we're not getting that. So I don't want someone to be surprised when they show up and they haven't provided an outline and we refuse their deputation. I want that to be clear up front. What else is in here? We're talking about it being an election year and wanting to be careful that we don't inadvertently give someone the podium and access to our YouTube channel for campaigning purposes. So it's the first meeting of the year. Let's be very clear that that's not allowed under, and it states the policy that that's not allowed under. So this isn't about any new rules. This is about being upfront about what the rules are so that everyone knows what the rules are before we start saying no to deputations. And I want to thank Councillor Crone for his leadership in this, because this has been a hard nut to crack, because we know what the rules are and they haven't necessarily been enforced unilaterally. I'm finding it very distracting when we're getting all this noise and motion down there. When someone has the floor, they need to continue to have the floor. So I just want to end by saying,
A point of order.
I'm going to be supporting this
Excuse me, Madam
motion.
Mayor, I'm
We
being
have
told,
some-
I'm being commanded at what to do and say and not do and not say by a fellow councillor, and she doesn't have the floor.
commanding you.
So I would just like to bring it to the attention, for the record, that I'm being told that that's enough and not to say any more by a fellow councillor. So
We
this
have
is
someone
inappropriate
else that is
procedural-
already-
Yes, and as well, while that councillor was speaking and we were listening to her, another councillor chose to make comments in my direction, and she did not have the floor. So if we want to talk about procedure, let's enforce the rules equally, okay?
My wording is that we are going to listen to the next person, and I understand that you may be one beyond that. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to conclude by saying that I believe in reading this motion that it's speaking to procedures that already exist. It's about clarity, putting it up front so that everyone is on the same page. And I'm thanking Councillor Crone for providing this balance that allows our residents still to speak, but lets them know what the rules of engagement are. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johns, I believe you were next in
Thanks,
the line.
Madam Mayor. I was just hoping to get a ruling on the original point of order that was called, if you are in favor of speaking to this item. Because Councillor Leahy called a point of order regarding the validity of our ability to speak to this item. So I just wanted to have clarity on that before moving forward, as the clerk had pointed out.
I've ruled, we are now talking about it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. I think my fellow councillors are forgetting who pays their salaries, and that they are elected officials, and that they are able to be, that is their role.
Point
They
of order,
should
she's
be-
speaking to motivation, and that's not allowed in our procedural bylaw.
I understand it is not within our procedural.
Madam Mayor, then I would like to ask for a 15-minute recess so that I have the ability to read through this, because just at my first glance, it is stating that all prospective deputants shall file a written outline of their deputation. And the thing is that we have
I
had...
think if you continue to talk, you're probably going to come up with your request. So what I'm going to say is you would have some time right now to put your thoughts together, and we have indicated that there's the ability for you to to bring it forward.
So we're taking a 15-minute break so that
Yes.
I can read through it. It's so lengthy, we can't even read it all on one slide. It's so lengthy, this.
I have now asking that
Yeah.
we will take time and listen to what everybody here has issues regarding.
So we don't have 15 minutes to read it over ourselves.
You will have 15 minutes, no more. A recess starts now. you very much. We're online right now. I wonder if you could bring us forward on where we left off. Please and thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, absolutely. Prior to the break, members of council were debating and discussing a motion that Councillor Crone had presented. What I'll do is ask our staff to present the motion on the screen, which was previously moved by Councillor Crone and seconded by Councillor Roy DiClemente for council's consideration.
This is moved by Councillor Crone, seconded by Councillor Roy DiClemente, whereas we are now in election year, and whereas policy 3900 CP 002, use of corporate resources for election states, the use of any town resources in any campaigning or any election-related purpose is prohibited, including but not limited to town websites and YouTube channels. And whereas members of the public have a myriad of ways to have their voices heard at any time, including but not limited to phone calls, written letters, emails, and or meetings with individual members of council, the mayor, the mayor's office, customer service, as well as various town surveys and put forums on the town website. And whereas council is an obligation to ensure that the business of the corporation as conducted by council can be carried out in an efficient and effective manner. And whereas section 13-2 of the protocol bylaw requires the consent of council for a deputation to be heard. Therefore, be it resolved that council wishes to provide additional clarification on deputation in an election year. As per section 13.7C of the procedural bylaw, all prospective deputants shall file a written outline of their deputation with the clerk no later than Monday at noon prior to the meeting, and a copy shall be provided to all members of council. Section 13.4 of the procedural bylaw, deputant shall be limited to 5 minutes for speaking at a council, and committee shall be interpreted to mean 1 5-minute time allotment per council meeting day per resident. No deputation shall be heard if it can be construed by a reasonable person as being for election and related purposes, i.e. campaigning. Council reserves the right to curtail future deputations from those that do not comply with the rules of the decorum as outlined in section 13.9 of the procedural bylaw, and that this will be in effect only until election day, October 26, 2026. I have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Crone as a mover and Councillor Roy DiClemente as a seconder. All those in favor?
You would ask any questions.
Oh, sorry, any questions first?
In terms of discussing this? Yes, well, I would like a recorded vote when we're voting on this motion so that it's very clear to everyone who is in favor of this, of Councillor Crone's motion, and who is against it.
Councillor Roy DiClemente?
Thank you. Happy to have a recorded vote. I guess for me, I think the most important function here, I think, is that that this is only in effect until election day, and that this is really a function of how we're going to be conducting our meetings for the next 10 months. This is not changing our procedural bylaw. It appears to me that it is simply clarifying the way that we would like to conduct our meetings for the remainder of this term. So for that reason, I will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
This is a very sad day for democracy in East Gwillimbury, and this is yet another attempt to infringe on the rights of residents to express their opinions. And if we care about democracy, we wouldn't be playing these kinds of games of potentially preventing those residents
hold on
who
a
may
moment.
choose to be.
Madam Mayor?
Excuse me, I have the floor. I have the floor.
Just a moment.
Games? I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. There is no games being played here, and I resent the implication that is happening here. There are rules of decorum, and it is one thing to be in opposition of a motion. It's another thing altogether to be accusing people of playing games. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I continue now?
Yes, you
Thank
may continue.
Thank you. For the sake of the democratic process, and I had the benefit of the 15 minutes to read through this lengthy motion, which could very well have been presented to us before today's meeting. The fact that the councillor chose not to give us any heads up or include it on the agenda, as is the usual process, prevented effectively the public from being aware of this coming to be discussed today at council, because it was not on the agenda. So the public was denied the opportunity of making any deputations on this specific motion that you brought forward, as well as providing any feedback to council that they wish to. Now, in the prior discussion before the vote was taken, the councillor who made this motion said that that this had nothing to do with the respectful public spaces policy that was presented to the public on December 19th, right before the Christmas holidays. And but in fact, it does very much affect that, because it says here very clearly that no deputation shall be heard if it can be construed by a reasonable person as being for elected related purposes. This raises the question of who is this person, who's going to be the arbiter deciding this. And so it is, in fact, a conflict of interest for the very councillors who are sitting here on council to be deciding who and who cannot speak to this fact. The fact that it's limited to 5 minutes, I've never been opposed to the limitation of 5 minutes. However, there has been proposed the idea that we have an actual clock in the council chambers so that when a deputy starts speaking, that they know exactly how much time they have left, as well as the council and staff members have an exact idea, and it's not one particular councillor who's chairing a meeting who's keeping track of the time. So I would like to see that that is enforced in an accurate manner, but also the fact that the deputants have to file an outline of their deputation with the clerk. Now, the fact that I have read in advance of meetings and deputations, entire deputations that word for word that the people are going to make, and some deputants stick to that presentation that they have prepared. Other deputations, in fact, though, have other deputants have not stuck to what they have prepared in advance. So I think that it behooves the members of council who are elected officials that they not attempt to silence or restrict any member of the public who wishes to make a deputation in the democratic process. That is their right to do. And in fact, I believe that this motion that has been presented to us could very well potentially be violating the Charter of Rights that everyone has to express their opinions in a council meeting. And so I am not in support of this. I'm not in support of the way it was brought forward to us. And I do believe it is very troublesome that rather than listening to the residents as publicly elected officials, if we deem what they are saying to us as we are not enjoying or approving or liking what they are saying, that we are trying to prevent them from providing some feedback, sometimes critical, sometimes negative feedback, but that is our job as councillors, to receive that feedback, whether we like it or not. And so trying to restrict people from expressing their opinions is very wrong. It's just simply wrong. Everything about this is wrong.
Thank you. Councillor, go ahead, please.
Madam Mayor, it's very clear in our code of conduct that members will refrain from making disparaging comments or unfounded speculative accusation about the motives of another member, staff, or the public. And I'm listening to Councillor Leahy, and I'm hearing that she's accusing us of playing games. She's accusing us of being against democracy. She's accusing Councillor Crone of choosing to not share this. She's accusing us of attempting to silence. She says that she's accusing us of not enjoying. This all speaks to accusations about motive, and it's not allowed under our code of conduct. She can have whatever opinions she wants, but she cannot assign motives to us. When I look at this, none of what she has said has anything to do with my motivation in supporting this. I'm looking at this and thinking, this is clearly outlining what is already in our procedural bylaw. It is us being upfront about what is in both the procedural bylaw and our policy on election-related, sorry, I can't just see it right now, but about not using town resources for electioneering. So I think this is restating policies that already exist, and I don't want to sit here and have one member of council accuse us of motives that clearly do not exist. And I think that I would like a ruling from you when that happens, that that is out of line according to our code of conduct. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Madam Mayor, I appreciate the feedback, but at the end of the day, this is our meeting. Everyone who sits at this table, this is our meeting. It is not an open forum for people to come in and say whatever is on their mind. We have an obligation to run this meeting effectively and efficiently to do the people's business. And no one's being silenced. You have 5 minutes to come and talk about what you want. No one's being silenced. Democracy is protected here. Freedom of expression is protected here as long as it fits within decorum. But this is our meeting. It's not an open forum. And we have an obligation to our taxpayers, who I heard from loud and clear over the holidays that they were not happy with the turn this council was taking. So I'm trying to put some guidelines in place to interpret the procedures that we have. That's it. If you want to read into my motives, have at it, but I just want to make sure we run effective meetings, people are respected, we can disagree without being disagreeable, but I want to have clear, efficient meetings. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. My fellow councillors have been told multiple times that the only one who can decide on a violation of the Code of Conduct is the Integrity Commissioner. So it's not you shouldn't be put in that position, Mayor Haxon. It's not your job. The job of the Code of Conduct issues should be addressed with the Integrity Commissioner. That's point number one. Point number two is that this states that you are stating a policy number here. We already have guidelines in place there are already guidelines in place, and that as long as someone is, and that was addressed in the respectful public spaces policy that was shared with everyone on December the 19th. And so while council has the ability to decide on who will speak and who will not speak in terms of making a deputation, I take fundamental umbrance at the statement that has been made by two councillors now, that this is our meeting. This is not our meeting. This is the meeting of the people. This is the meeting of the taxpayers. This is the meeting of the residents. And there are already guidelines in place, and that someone making a deputation is not using town resources for campaigning purposes. We haven't even started campaigning. May 1st is the date when people can submit their nomination papers and start campaigning. That's the law. That's the election law. And no one should be prevented from speaking based on the stipulation you have here that it might be construed by one of the members of council that it's for election-related purposes until October 26th, but then everything goes back to normal. Everyone should be allowed the opportunity to make a deputation. It is not a use of town resources to make a deputation. This is the people's meeting. This is the people's council chambers, and we do already have the guidelines in place for decorum and for all the situations of which are addressed in the respectful public space policy to address any situations where there is any violence or any threats or any abuse. And I will stick to that, I will stand to that, and I believe that the comments that are being made directed towards me, I am not inferring that there is offense. People choose to take offense and people choose to imply that I'm suggesting your motivations. I'm not suggesting any of your motivations, but it comes through pretty darn clear that any sitting council member here right now is attempting, in my opinion, to silence any other resident who may in the future be considering the election. Comments there. I will stop my comments there. Why is my microphone being turned off?
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, just to clarify, our staff did not tamper with any microphones.
I believe it was me that touched 2 or 3 lights at the same time. I apologize.
I think there's been a request for recorded vote. I would call the vote. Call the question.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the motion as presented has been moved by Councillor Crone, seconded by Councillor Roy DeClemente. Councillor Leahy has requested for a recorded vote. Councillor Leahy, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Carruthers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Crone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Haxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Your mic is off.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Johns, how do you vote?
No.
Madam Mayor, Councillor Roy DeClemente, how do you vote?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, that concludes the vote, and this motion carries.
Thank you very much. Take a moment here to get ourselves organized.
Madam Mayor, we are at item D on your agenda, which is the deputation section. I do want to advise all council members that staff have received a written notice from A. Lenkov, the deputant listed on today's agenda for items D3, D4, and D5, advising that they will not be attending today's meeting and have requested that 3 scheduled deputations be canceled. Accordingly, those deputations will be deemed withdrawn from today's agenda. This notice came in advance of today's meeting.
Thank you very much. Do we have members of council who would?
So at this point, Madam Mayor, you're continuing on with the deputations, and you would only be dealing with items D1 and D2.
Thank you. Before we begin hearing from the deputants, I want to outline the expectations for conduct at this meeting. All participants are expected to conduct themselves respectfully and in accordance with the town's procedure bylaw. This includes refraining from interruptions, outbursts, or any behavior that disrupts the meeting. Each deputant will be provided up to 5 minutes to present their remarks unless council or committee approves a different time, and the meeting will continue in an orderly, respectful manner. The town will not tolerate abusive, threatening, or profane language or any negative or inappropriate comments directed at members of council, staff, or members of the public. Deputants must limit their remarks to the subject for which they have been granted approval. I would also like to remind everyone of the following rules from the procedural bylaw. No deputant shall speak disrespectfully of any person, use offensive words or unparliamentary language, speak on any subject other than the subject for which he or she has received approval to address council or committee, or disobey the rules of procedure or a decision of the chair or council. If there is disorder, a breach of these rules, or behavior that compromises the safety, fairness, or integrity of the meeting, I shall curtail a deputation or rule it concluded. Individuals causing the disturbance may be asked to leave if necessary. The staff will seek assistance from security or police officers. These expectations help ensure that all participants, whether speaking or observing, can take part in a respectful, safe, and well-managed meeting. We will now proceed. I'll start with number 1, J. Petejan making a deputation to council regarding item H.1 correspondence from J. Petejan dated November 18th, 2025 regarding proposed amendments to the town's fill bylaw. And this is in relation to item H.1. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And good afternoon, Madam Mayor, council, and staff. Boy, it's been a while since, to get to this point. Okay. The comments I provide today are, in my own opinion, without prejudice. I am here to respond to the fill bylaw amendments allowing wet fill. This is not a simple issue. It's a serious, controversial environmental and public safety issue. Why was the fill amendment discussed this morning in this morning's meeting, Council of the Whole, and not given and then again here at the municipal meeting this afternoon? Would it not have been more transparent and efficient to hold one meeting so residents' questions could be fully addressed? The town's fill bylaw is authorized under the Municipal Act as a primary tool to regulate the dumping of fill and land grades. In 2013, again in 2021, and again in 2025, residents have raised concerns on these 3 separate occasions, opposing the pits in EG. Yet the town continues not to listen. Accepting fill is not just about soil. It brings environmental health, traffic, social, and leaching and potential harm to our watersheds. Forecasts show EGs to grow over 120,000 in population in the next 25 years. For residents of EG, this means more trucks, more noise, more fumes, more congestion. We face increased traffic flows from major projects such as the Young Finch subway extension, the Bradford bypass, the new pit approvals, Bill C-23, build homes faster, the new hospital, more wet fill hauled in from anywhere in the GTA. How much more can our roads and our residents handle before they reach a breaking point? While Regulations 406-19, a very controversial bylaw, it's meant to ensure only clean excess soil is reused. The term wet fill is misleading. A more accurate term is waste fill and not mud. Fill is collected from many avenues such as construction, rail yards, electrical sites, stormwater, and much more. In this morning's council meeting, it was mentioned that inspection was done at pickup and at dump pits. Well, according to the Ministry of the Natural Resources, between 5 and 20% of trucks are inspected due to limited manpower. That means dumping is not inspected. What assurances do residents have that contaminated soil is not entering these pits? Residents have met with the town staff and the town's environmental consultant. Residents clearly state that they do not support fill pits in East Gwillimbury. So what changes were made from our meeting then? None. As we currently have pits operating in EG, where are the impact studies? Public health, environment, social, economic, comparative risk. It was said these studies would not be allowed before the bylaw was finalized because no new pits are waiting to be opened. But what about the existing pits that are there now? Shouldn't these assessments have been done before any bylaw was passed? Are we putting the cart before the horse? Why is staff approving new pits and not council, as I heard this morning? We were also told this is a break-even proposition. Yet during the 2026 budget, the town reported a $33,000 loss. If this is a break-even proposition, Why increase more workload to staff? More importantly, why put residents at risk? So what's not being told to residents? Other municipalities have negotiated far better proposals, including a better financial compensation, new parkland, clean A1 soil restoration. If a compromise cannot be found, increasing tipping fees would greatly discourage excessive dumping in EG. If a community can unite over a blue bin size, I'm sure it can unite to protect itself from being overwhelmed by truck traffic and environmental risks. I throw this out to council and staff. Just a thought for everyone. Have you had a glass of EG water lately? I thank you for your time. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Questions? I'm not seeing any. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could I have a motion to move Councillor LaHaye, Councillor Crone, Jay Petejan making a deputation to council regarding item H1 from Jay Petejan. Oh, sorry. Be it resolved that the deputation made by Jay Petejan regarding H1 correspondence from Jay Petejan dated November 18th, 2025 regarding proposed amendments to the town's fill bylaw be received. I have a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Crone. I already have. Good. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Now we have a second one as well, I understand. Go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Council, and staff. The comments I provide today are in my opinion and without prejudice. On April 18, 2023, Council declared a climate emergency. This was an important statement that recognized climate change as a real and urgent issue facing our community. It came with the promise that decisions moving forward would better protect our environment and support long-term sustainability. Think Green is one of the initiatives and is scheduled to be discussed on January 20th. Think Green is about protecting our environment. With those commitments in mind, it is important to look closely at how the proposed fill bylaw amendment that includes wet fill fits with the goals of the climate emergency declaration. This bylaw would allow large amounts of fill to be brought into the community, which would in turn mean a large increase in truck traffic on already busy and aging roads. These trucks are not just passing through once or twice, they would be coming day after day for extended periods of time. As mentioned in this morning's council meeting, as many as 900 trucks per day can be accommodated on a regional road. The environmental impacts of this are concerning. More trucks mean more fuel being burnt and more emissions released into the air. This affects air quality for residents and directly contributes to the greenhouse gases, which are a key driver of climate change. If we are serious about being in a climate emergency, shouldn't reducing emissions be a priority, not increasing them? Beyond truck traffic, the fill bylaw raises serious concerns about our land and water. Wet fill is often placed in low-lying areas near wetlands, streams, and natural drainage systems. These areas play a critical role in managing stormwater, preventing flooding, and protecting water quality. When fill is added, natural water flow can be disrupted, leading to flooding, erosion, and contamination of nearby water sources. Presently, there is a wet fill facility operating in EG. Why do we need to add more? Wetlands and natural areas also act as natural filters, helping to clean our water and support wildlife. Filling or altering these lands can permanently damage ecosystems that have taken years to develop. Once these natural systems are disturbed, they are extremely difficult to restore. This is especially troubling in a time when climate change is already increasing the risk of flooding and extreme weather. There's also the concern of oversight and enforcement. Residents are left wondering how the town will ensure that fill is clean, safe, and placed appropriately, and how environmental impacts will be monitored over time. If mistakes are made, the damage to land and water may be irreversible. So is it reasonable to ask, how does approving a wet fill bylaw protect our environment? How does it safeguard our wetlands, our water, and the natural systems that help defend our community against climate impacts? And how does it align with the Climate Emergency Declaration and the plans that were promised to follow? These questions are not meant to oppose growth, but to ensure that growth is responsible. Declaring a climate emergency means that environmental protection should be at the center of our decisions. If we are truly in a climate emergency, then our actions, especially those affecting our land, water, and air, must reflect that urgency and care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Crone, Councillor Crothers. All those in favor? That's carried. Be it resolved that the deputation made by R. Petejan regarding H.2 correspondence from R. Petejan dated November 19th, 2025 regarding fill operation be received. Given the deputations under items D3, D4, and D5 have been withdrawn, we will now move to item E. Item E is presentations. We have none at this time. Item F is committee recommendations to adopt the Committee of the Whole Council recommendations from the meeting held on December 16th, 2025. Councillor Johns, you previously indicated that you had a declaration regarding item CWC recommendation, CWC 2025-252 regarding final built heritage strategy. With that, I would ask that we separate this item to accommodate the conflict. Okay. So do I have a mover? Councillor Crone, and let me just see here, and a seconder, Councillor Leahy.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, could I just seek clarity on, are we moving and seconding the items with my conflict or the one that is my conflict?
Well, now let's have a look here further down. Yes.
Through you, Madam Mayor, typically, council entertains the balance, all recommendations, and then when there is a conflict, you deal with that second. So at this point, if Councillor Crone and Councillor Leahy are moving and seconding all of the recommendations, that's what you'll be dealing with, save and except for the conflict. That will be dealt with separately.
Yes. And so at this point, now. Yes. I have sorry.
Madam Mayor, you have a mover and a seconder for all of the recommendations that were presented on the agenda, with the exception of the conflict that was declared by Councillor Johns. At this time, you just require the vote of council to approve all of the recommendations. We will separate out that conflict, and you would require a separate mover and a seconder for that. So you just need a vote of council.
So I'm looking for a mover and seconder.
You already have that, Madam Mayor. You just
Okay.
need a vote of council for all the recommendations except for the one that Councillor Johns declared an interest on.
Thank you. I'm not
Madam Mayor,
seeing
I would be
hands up.
happy to have the vote called.
Thank you. Good. All those in favor? And that's carried.
And Madam Mayor, at this time, you're addressing recommendation CWC 2025-252, which is in relation to the final built heritage strategy. This item, Councillor John has a conflict, so you require a mover and a seconder for this item.
This is item G.
Perhaps what we can do, Madam Mayor, is put the recommendations on the screen for your
Thank you.
review. So this is the one highlighted in blue.
Be it resolved that Development Services Planning Branch Report DS 2025-36 dated December 16th, 2025, entitled Final Built Heritage Strategy be received, and that council approve the Built Heritage Strategy to facilitate the preservation and celebration of East Gwillimbury's heritage as outlined in Apex 1 of Report DS 2025-36, that council allow the technical amendments or minor alterations to the Built Heritage Strategy as staff determined to be necessary to implement the priorities of the Built Heritage Strategy CWC 2025-252. Thank you. I have a seconder. Councillor Crothers, thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Madam Mayor, from this morning's Committee of the Whole meeting, there was one motion requiring same-day ratification. So at this point, I'll ask our team to share those on the screen for your consideration.
Thank you.
This is in relation to the Animal Services Appointment Bylaw Amendment, and that is highlighted in blue on the screen before you.
Thank you. To adopt the Committee of the Whole Council recommendations from the meeting held on January 13th, 2026. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crone. Councillor Johns. Thank you very much. Be it resolved that council adopt the Committee of the Whole recommendations from the meeting held on January 13th, 2026 as follows. Number 1, be it resolved that Corporate Services Report CS 2026-02 dated January 13th, 2026 entitled Animal Services Appointment Bylaw Amendment be received, and that council enact the appointment bylaw amendments in the form attached as Apex 1 to Corporate Services Report CS 2026-02, and that the recommendations from the Corporate Services Report CS 2026-02 be ratified at the meeting of Municipal Council on January 13th, 2026 to authorize the new officer to enforce the Town of East Gwillimbury's animal care and control. All those in favor? And that's carried. We are at item G, that's the adoption of minutes to adopt the Committee of the Whole Council minutes from the meeting held on December 16th, 2025. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Leahy, Councillor Crothers. Be it resolved that council adopt the Committee of the Whole Council minutes from the meeting held on December 16th, 2025. All in favor? And that's carried. We're on item 2 at this point to adopt the council minutes from the following meetings. Special meeting held on December 9th, 2025. Special meeting held on December 16th, 2025. Regular meeting held on December 16th, 2025. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crone, Councillor Leahy. Be it resolved that council adopt the following minutes. Council minutes from the special meeting held on December 9th, 2025. Council minutes from the special meeting held on December 16th, 2025. Council minutes from the regular meeting held on December 16th, 2025. All those in favor? And that's carried. We have correspondence for consideration. Correspondence from J. Petejan, dated November 18th, 2026, regarding proposed amendments to the town's fill bylaw. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Crothers, Councillor
Councillor Johns, I'm happy to second.
Johns, thank you. Be it resolved that the correspondence from J. Petejan dated November 18th, 2025 regarding proposed amendments to the town's fill bylaw be received. All those in favor? And that's carried. We are at number 2, correspondence from R. Petejan dated November 19th, 2025 regarding fill operations. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Madam Mayor?
Councillor Crothers?
Oh,
Yes,
I'd be happy to second it, and I'd also like to ask a question.
thank you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you very much. We had an intensive discussion, lengthy discussion this morning surrounding some of the questions around wet fill. In reading the letter of correspondence here, I just wanted to make sure that we did in fact answer all of the questions. There are quite a few questions here. We discussed briefly some of the the haul routes and the number of trucks that are potentially on our roads and on regional roads. There's a question here about the traffic control cameras, if there will be traffic control cameras installed in order to protect residents, and who will be responsible for the road repair. I think we could answer those pretty quickly here today without putting our general manager on the spot, if he would be willing to answer those questions regarding traffic control and road repair, as well as the speed being potentially reduced on the roads that are in questions here in the correspondence.
Thank you. Staff, are you prepared to speak to this?
Certainly, through you, Madam Mayor. So there are 3 items. The speed limit, typically the roads that the fill sites are on are regional roads. So it would be the region that would be looking at the speed limits for those roads. In terms of traffic cameras, we do have some traffic cameras at 2 of the pits, actually, that are monitoring traffic movements in and out of the site to make sure that trucks are moving in the proper direction. And those cameras have proved to be very useful to us. With additional future fill sites, if there are any, those would be part of our fill management plan. It would just be considered and would be part of those applications. We would make that a requirement. And I forget the last question.
It was with regard, if I may, through you, Madam Mayor, with regard to who's responsible for road repair. So it would depend on the road, I imagine. But if I may follow up with a further question.
Go ahead.
So you indicated that there's already cameras at 2 of the pits. Do all of the cameras, are they required, all of the pits required to have cameras? And what do those cameras tell you in terms of, do you have access to them to monitor, for example, if there are trucks that are making dumps outside of the hours that they are allowed to through their permit?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So the after-hours dumping is not possible because the sites are gated shut. So that those gates are closed and vehicles aren't permitted to enter and do not enter. Cameras have been set up at MAP primarily to confirm that trucks are turning the proper way out of the site to look at the truck routes. And there were cameras that were set up at the rice pit along McCowan that were being used to monitor the speed of trucks that were actually entering that pit. So they weren't necessarily for speed enforcement of the general public. They were more for if there were complaints that the trucks related to that pit were speeding, we were able to go in and look at the license plates and confirm that those trucks were in fact traveling at the speed limit. And in most cases, those trucks were traveling at the speed limit. So I believe those are your questions.
Thank you very much. I am on number 2. No, I'm not.
Through you, you, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
For number 2, you already had a mover, which was Councillor Carruthers, seconder Councillor Leahy. You just need a vote of council to formally receive that item.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. We are now at item 3, correspondence from A. Drobot, dated November 18th regarding fill operations and speeding. I have a mover and a seconder. Go ahead, please.
I'm happy to move it, and I'd also like to ask a question with regard to this item of
Certainly. I'll wait
correspondence.
until we have someone to second it. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. And again, it's following up from a question, a request that is made in this letter of correspondence from Ms. Drobot. It is asking formally to request that the town of East Gwillimbury conduct a new noise and air quality assessment report, and that it would be made public to the residents of East Gwillimbury. And so I am curious as to whether or not this is a possibility if we direct staff. There have been some questions recently with regard to cameras attached to a stop sign at the intersection of Mount Albert Road and McCowan. And there needed to be some further questions asked at the region, et cetera, as to who was putting those cameras in place, et cetera. But would it be appropriate, or would it be considered by staff appropriate to conduct a new noise and air quality assessment report because of the considerations that have been expressed with regard to long-term environmental and community impacts regarding the number of trucks that are on a daily basis using that intersection and those roads going to the fill pits? So I would like to put forward a motion to ask the other members of council if at this time we could put it back to staff to look into conducting a new noise and air quality assessment report with regard to the truck traffic going to the fill pits in Mount Albert.
Thank you. Comments? Questions? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm happy to comment there. Yeah, you know, this is interesting to me, and I will say personal too. Like, I grew up on the top of the hill on the 7th, and a lot of my youth was riding my bike down the hill and going to the convenience store where the gas station, like across the street from the gas station, and and going to friends' houses within Holt. And the thing is that I always do remember in my youth being aware of the trucks, but it is beyond clear that it has heightened. And in spirit, I agree with trying to get some more information and better understanding. When talking about noise, like, I mean, we're looking to address through the region traffic, but from that noise standpoint, I wonder where the responsibility would fall, whether it would be a region or municipal led initiative. I would support it. I mean, when you talk about Holt or Brown Hill and these type of smaller communities, I think it is imperative that we are working to protect the quality of life in our established small towns. And I guess I would, through you, Madam Mayor, look to seek clarity on how that initiative could be led.
Thank you. Any comments, questions?
Further, through you, Madam Mayor, further, I'd like to say, well, I have put forward a motion. I'm happy to discuss the motion. If I'm not sure if a staff member would like to comment about how the best manner to proceed would be, if we work with the region to request, if we should put language in there that we work with the region to request a noise and air quality assessment. But my motion, the intention of my motion is to address the environmental concerns about added emissions by the number of trucks that are on the roads and potentially significantly more every day, as well as the societal impacts that those may have, even before there's any further consideration of a bylaw for wet fills, that we address this concern through a request to have a new study conducted on noise and air quality assessment.
Thank you. Councillor Crothers?
Madam Mayor, do we have a motion we can put up there, and has it been seconded before we start speaking to it? Just if we're having this motion, this first that we're hearing about it, the first that we're seeing it, we should have it in writing so we can look at it and make sure it's duly seconded before we begin the debate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I believe it was seconded by, wasn't it seconded already?
Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, for clarity, so the motion that was moved and seconded initially was just to simply receive the correspondence, Councillor Leahy. Council has not, Madam Mayor, voted on that. There is another motion that Councillor Leahy had just mentioned that has not been seconded. So, but in terms of the priority of your motions, you have the motion to receive as the first priority. You would have to address that, and then following that, Council can entertain the second motion. So, Madam Mayor, that motion has been moved by Councillor Leahy, seconded by Councillor Johns to receive the correspondence. You would need a vote of council on that first.
And all those in favor? That's carried.
And at this time, Madam Mayor, Councillor Leahy has proposed a new motion, which will require a seconder, and we're just confirming, Councillor Leahy, in terms of the language that you would have, if you don't mind reiterating your motion again.
That we refer this back to staff, a motion to conduct a new noise and air quality assessment report. Oh, and I see that our general manager would like, Mr. Molinari would like to make a comment on that. Yes.
I'm happy to second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and go ahead, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So right now, we do not have a new site alteration application or permit that's being, we have existing sites that already have fill permits that have already gone through the entire process with their environmental reports and other things that have been necessary in order to allow them to proceed through a permit. So the suggestion would be that if there's another site alteration project that comes along, that those sorts of studies would form part of those new applications that came forward, and we could make those whatever traffic and noise and air quality reports were required. Those would form part of that application. But the ones that are already in place have already gone through that process.
Thank you.
So, Madam Mayor, just to be clear, what I believe that I seconded was Councillor Leahy said, moved a motion to refer to staff, and she was in mid-sentence and stopped, so to refer to staff. So I seconded a motion to refer this to staff.
Thank you. And what we have in front of us, be it resolved.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just bear with us because this is a brand-new motion, so perhaps we can share something on the screen for Council's consideration at this time, and Councillor Lee, you can advise, and of course, Councillor Johns, whether this is the motion that you would like to entertain. So, Madam Mayor, what has been presented on the screen before you is what we have been able to capture based on the final clarification. Councillor Leahy, is that the intent of your motion?
Well, not exactly. I don't believe it's necessary to say, well, I would prefer if it mentioned the purpose behind my presenting the motion, which is to address in one of the deputations as well as in this letter of correspondence that there are long-term environmental and community impacts. And so I would like that included in the motion, that I'm putting forward the motion in order to address those long-term environmental and community impacts. So I know that I understand from our general manager's comments that those studies were done prior to the companies receiving permits, et cetera. But a new noise and air quality assessment report at this time, I think, could very well be beneficial in case some new information could be found from that in terms of the impact on the environment and the community. So if you could add that in terms of, okay, speeding to staff to carry out a noise, yes, refer it back to staff to consider carrying out a new noise and air quality assessment.
Councillor Carruthers, go ahead.
It's Councillor Roy.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm just wondering well, first of all, I find it challenging for us to be directing staff to undertake noise and air quality studies on an intersection or a stretch of road that we don't own. And further, I'm not sure, even if we were able to do that, if it was appropriate for us to do that, I'm not sure what impact we could have on it because it is a regional section of road. And yes, it's challenging. Yes, there's heavy truck traffic. We've done our part in ensuring that the trucks from Mount Albert Pit are not using the community of Holt. That's not supposed to be their haul route. And that's why there are cameras at the gates, to ensure that that agreement is being adhered to. So we've done our part from the areas that we can control. I'm just not sure what the outcome would be, even if we were able to do a noise and air quality assessment. I don't even know how much one of those costs. So we're asking staff to do something in an area that isn't their responsibility with a budget that we haven't approved. So I'd like a little bit more information before I move forward with this.
Thank you. Councillor, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I support the purpose and intent of what we're trying to do here, but I agree 100% with Councillor Roy DiClemente. It's not our intersection, so I would be more, I think I would be more amenable to rewriting this motion, that we refer it to staff to work with the region to address noise and air quality assessments, refer it to staff, work with the region, and try and get this accomplished that way. It's the region that owns it, and quite frankly, they should be footing the bill. My 2 cents.
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Since it's my motion, I'd be happy to accept that friendly amendment to refer it back to staff and to discuss with the region as to the best way, if possible, to go about having a new air and noise quality assessment.
Thank you. Other discussion? Councillor Carruthers?
Thank you. I'm just confused around the wording about referring it back to staff, because usually when we refer something back to staff, it means that they decide what the next steps are. So we're kind of saying that, but we're actually directing staff. So if we are directing staff to work with the region, that's one thing. If we were referring this letter back to staff, that's another motion entirely. So I would hope that we can work on a way to, as Councillor Crone says, I understand the intent. I just don't think we're there yet. And I'm wondering if this is something that could be deferred for an opportunity to talk with staff, to talk about what is the strongest motion we could put forward to address these issues. Because I think there's a lot of consensus in council here that we do want to address the concerns of residents around this. We just want to make sure we get our motion right in order to be able to do that.
Other thoughts regarding this? I'm not seeing any at this time.
So that was a motion to defer.
Thank you. We have a motion to defer. All those in favor?
Sorry, a motion to defer what? I thought we haven't voted on my motion yet.
So that, thank you. When you were on your phone, I was talking about getting the motion in a way that would help staff be able to address this issue. And right now, we have sort of conflicting words in there where you're asking to refer the letter back to staff. And usually when we do that, that means that they decide how to execute. And I think what you mean is that you want to direct staff to work with the region. So I'm just wondering if we can just take a pause on this to get the language correct, because everyone is in agreement this is something that we should be trying to do. But I want to make sure that it is in the strongest, it is worded in the strongest way possible to actually get results. Because the original wording wouldn't have addressed the concerns. So I want to make sure that we are addressing the concerns that are being raised, and we're not writing a motion on the fly that's going to miss the mark. So I think that taking a pause to make sure that we have the correct language would be very helpful in addressing the residents' concern.
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, I'm not agreeable to that amendment to, I'd like to see the motion up, and I'd like it to say directed, but we don't need to defer this. This can be decided and voted on today, unless we'd like to take another 15-minute break so that everyone has the opportunity to work on the language of it, and that before we vote. So, and just a point point of privilege for my fellow councillor, I was busy on my phone dealing with a medical emergency of a family member. So I would appreciate it if you gave me the respect in the future of the benefit of the doubt why I'm on the phone while another fellow council member was having making comments. Okay, thank you very much.
Through you, Madam Mayor, for clarity, what we can do is perhaps reshare what we have been provided, and council could provide some guidance in terms of what the direction is that you would like to take with this motion.
Do other members have discussion points to share?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It's my motion. I'm happy with the language as it appears now, and I think I would like to call the vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. And those that,
Madam
Yeah.
Mayor, motion to defer takes precedence.
yes.
And so I had put on a motion to defer, and so we were looking for a seconder on that, because that takes precedence
you.
over the main motion.
Okay. Do we have a seconder?
Well, excuse me.
Councillor Roy DeClemente? All those in favor? Opposed? Start over. Councillor Foster, could you let us know how you voted on this, please?
I was in favor, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm in favor as well. Thank you. Okay, we're moving along, kind of.
I'm happy to move number 4.
Number 4. Okay, the former was deferred, and we're on to number 4, correspondence from the York Region Federation of Agriculture dated,
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'm happy to move this, but I'd like to make a slight amendment.
okay.
I would request that we waive the rental fees for this anniversary event.
I'm seeing nods here. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Just a question on the motion. What are the fees that we're proposing to waive? What's the amount that we're?
Mr. Karmazin?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the cost for the rental would be approximately $205 to $373, depending on the total duration for the event. It's an evening event. We just haven't confirmed the total duration for the event, but we anticipate it would be between $205 to $373.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. In the past, we had set aside money in our budget for the Federation of Agriculture, and it was tied to the Sutton Fair and stuff like that. And then we had pulled it out, hoping to support 4-H, and we've tried different ways to support the agricultural community. And this seems like an easy one-off way to do this, and waiving those fees sounds like a reasonable request. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Can I suggest that instead of waiving the fees, that we offer a grant out of our, there's a, maybe it's the committee contingency, or I believe there should be some money in the mayor and council budget for us to be able to do that, and I look to our treasurer for help with that. But my hesitation in waiving the fee is that it creates an opportunity for people to say, well, if you did it here, then let's do it. But rather, as Councillor Crothers said, we've been looking for ways to support, and so I would rather that for that purpose, that we allow this, but that it be funded through our budget, not for an amount not to exceed $373.
Madam Mayor, as my amendment, I'm happy to accept the friendly amendment. It achieves the purpose of what we wanted. So as long as our good treasurer says we're in good shape, I'm there.
Hello.
Councillor, go ahead, please.
Hello, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm not in favor of taking it from the mayor and council's contingency budget. We are mid-January at the beginning of the year, and in terms of the budget that we have allocated for the mayor and council's contingency budget, so I don't believe that that's an appropriate source to take the funds from. I'm in favor of waiving it because I'm very supportive of the farmers in our agricultural community, and it's a special occasion for the 100th anniversary, but I believe that it should be waived as it was originally worded and not taken from a different source. So that's my opinion on the matter.
Thank you. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Thank you. Through you to my colleague, there is an operational cost for us to have an event at our town facility. There are staffing costs, there are cleanup costs. How would you propose that those costs be funded?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I would suggest that if it was not an item that was, there was willingness from that department to waive, then they wouldn't have suggested that it could be waived from that department. We have done it in the past. We have waived permit fees for other organizations and other events, and so I think that it's not an astronomical amount of money. However, the budget that we have, Mayor and Council, for our contingency budget, we are in January. We don't know what contingencies might come up for the rest of this term, another 11 and a half months. So I think it would be much better advised that we take that modest amount from waiving it from the original source.
But there isn't an original source. That's the point of my suggestion, is that there is an expense that has to be funded.
Well,
and so my suggestion was that we fund that expense through a budget that has been allocated for these sorts of purposes.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm recognizing that you're in the chair here
Yes,
and
I
asking
am.
for your permission to speak before I speak. Where has the money come from then when we have waived it in the past? If you're asking me that question, it has been waived on other occasions for other groups, and that has not been an issue. The question has never arisen from yourself where the money would be coming from that we are waiving. So,
Madam Mayor, everything that we spend has a funding source, and I have been consistent in the past. Whenever we are expending money, I have always consistently asking, what's the funding source for this expenditure? And so when we make resolutions, I'm usually the one who puts their hand up and says, oh, can we add that to the resolution, what the funding source is? And so in this case, I'm simply suggesting that the rental fees for the anniversary event be funded not to exceed $373, no thousands,
Wow.
dollars. Wow, I was getting generous. That it be funded from the mayor and council's budget. And if my colleague who is in opposition of that, it can be in opposition of that, she's welcome to vote against it, but I'm not hearing an alternative that I can support for funding this event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Counsel- go ahead,
if I
please.
may, I think this discussion we've been having, we've probably collectively burned through over $300 worth of council and staff time. The amendment's been put forward. I've accepted the friendly amendment from Councillor Roy DeClemente. If it fails, then I think we can go to where Councillor Leahy is suggesting and try it that way. But let's do what I would say. Let's vote on what the amendments we have on the table right now, and then see where we go from there.
Thank you. So we have an
Yeah.
amendment in front of us at this point.
May I make one last comment for
You
you, Madam
may.
Mayor? Thank you very much. I'm fully in favor of waiving the fees to support this organization, the York Region Federation of Agriculture, and all of the good work that they do, and it's a very special anniversary. However, I would like to hear from our staff what our other options are in terms of another funding source, if it was not to be taken from our mayor and council contingency budget, because we are in January of a year and we cannot anticipate necessarily what we might need to use those limited funds for over the course of the year. I would like to hear from staff, and that's my right to ask, if there are any other sources, whether it's a question for the facilities staff or for our treasurer, if there are any other potential sources that we could consider for funding the waiving of this cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carruthers?
I think we could be here all day debating different funding sources, but I think I'm seeing nods around the table that there's some agreement
Nobody's
from
nodding.
council.
I don't see anybody nodding through you, Madam Mayor. A point of
about
order.
Point of
So-
order. I have recognized a counselor here,
but my
and she
question
is
had not been
speaking. Let her
answered by a
finish
staff
speaking
member.
before you decide you have the microphone. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, we keep going back to the same talking points, and I think that we've exhausted this issue. We have one councillor who would like to look for a different funding source. We have the majority of council who are ready to vote on this, and I thought someone had asked for a vote on it, and I don't think we want to waste any more time going back and forth about funding sources for such a small amount of money when the money
Through you,
is sitting there and we have agreement. Please stop interrupting. And we have agreement from the majority of council on this. So I would request that we ask for the vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you. I have it in front of me that council provide a grant to cover the facility rental fees associated with the use of the Mount Albert Lions Community Center on March 28th, 2026 for the purpose of celebrating the York Region Federation of Agriculture 85th anniversary event funded from the mayor and council budget not to exceed $373. Any questions? All those in favor? And that's carried. We're at item I right now. Resolutions, and there are none at this time. Item for reports under J, none at this time. K, bylaws, given that we ratified a recommendation regarding animal services appointment bylaw amendment, we now have 4 bylaws for council's consideration.
Madam Mayor, I would ask, could we group all of them together in one motion?
It would appear to me that, yes, that's a true.
With the additional item?
Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-002, 2026-003, 2026-0004, and 2026-006 be taken as read, enacted, and signed by the mayor and municipal clerk. All those in favor? That's carried. Sorry?
Madam Mayor, I'm not sure you got a mover and a seconder for those
Oh,
bylaws.
okay, I was looking one way and not the other way.
Happy to move them.
So, I'll back up then. Okay. Councillor Roy DeClemente is the mover, and Councillor Hay is the seconder. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. There is, under L, no business at this time. M, confirming bylaw, and that concludes. I am at the confirming bylaw, a mover and a seconder, Councillor Crothers, Councillor Foster. All those in favor? And that's carried, and we have an adjournment. Thank you, Councillor Crone. Councillor Johns, thank you. And this is at 3:55 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much.